Men as providers. This is probably one of the most quintessential problems that I have with the blue pill world. This is probably one of my biggest objections when it comes to normal society, quote unquote, and I would say normal love and long term relationships, quote unquote. There's always exceptions, but the major part of the norm is that men need to be providers. And I'm a little unique in that I wasn't raised that way. In that I wasn't raised to be a provider as a male. Now, as a caveat to that statement, I wasn't raised much at all. Okay, like what raised me was school, friends, myself, movies. My dad was not in the picture as a raiser, right? He didn't really give me any advice on life or success or anything, and he really just showed me a negative example of what not to be. Now, that's my personal experience, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I wouldn't ever accept, anybody else in that same circumstance that grew up without a father like I did, would accept being a provider. I could have. It's just, for whatever reason, I took the red pill. And I think that at a certain point, I couldn't be manipulated anymore. I saw through women, and what I watched on TV and movies was like these great women who were supportive and loving, and the guy has to woo her, and then she falls in love with him, and all this kind of weird stuff. Maybe that's true, but I sort of had this idea that women were loyal, loving, and at the same time, that is a blue pill world that the man has to woo the woman and things like that. That's a blue pill concept, which is putting women on a pedestal. Like, she's the one who has to be wooed, right? She's the one who has to be won over. And really, this is something that is something that is a major theme that I talk about in a lot of my videos, which is that society expects the men to always win the woman, and the woman is the prize, right? When in reality, the man is really the prize. The man is the one who's paying the bills. The man is the one who's paying the mortgage, who's bringing the bacon home in most relationships. And now, this isn't to say women don't work, but now probably statistically in today's society, most people cohabit, or I wouldn't say cohabit, but most people are codependent on each other, meaning they both bring in an income and they share their income. A lot of women work today. It's not as traditional as it used to be. But that doesn't mean that the social norms that we expected in history aren't still in effect. That women don't still look for men with money, that women don't still choose and ultimately settle down with guys who can provide resources, because they do, even if the woman works. I believe it's part of female nature, right? And that's when I got red pilled. That's when I realized, wait a minute, true love isn't really real for the most part. It's not. I always figured that I just fall in love and I'd meet this great girl, and I always thought that. And as I went along and I got in the dating arena, and I started dating and I started seeing female nature for what it really is, I really got disenfranchised from that idea of real love, because I realized women are anything if not pragmatic. They are pragmatic in the sense that they know how much you earn, they know how much you're worth, they know what you could do for them financially more than anybody else. And to an extent, a woman will see, women have two gears. On the one hand, they've got the emotional gear, and when you're in that gear, when you can get a woman stirred up, emotionally for you, she'll fall in love with you, she'll have sex with you, She'll do a lot of things with you. That's one gear. You can tap into that gear, and you can exploit, or I wouldn't say exploit, but you can, you know, you can benefit from that gear. However, the other gear is the pragmatic gear. And that pragmatic gear is that whole security. I want to plan for my future. I want to have a good lifestyle. I want to be with the kind of man who can provide resources, provide that lifestyle for me, take care of me while I have kids. Those are the two gears that women have. Now, ideally, women seek to satisfy both of those gears with one man. This means they want to fall in love with a guy who's alpha, who's masculine, probably muscular, tall, right, physically, has a high physical SMV, sexual market value. But on the other hand, he's a good provider. He has resources. He's able to bring home finances, because finances today translate into security, and women want security. That's a large part of the female brain, the female motivation, right? So these are the two gears that women have. This is what I learned, and what I was tapping into in my dating experience was not that second gear. I was not a provider. I could not give resources. And women knew this, and it took me a little while to realize that women knew this. When I was younger, in high school and in my early 20s, you know, a lot of the women that I was chasing, they wanted the bad boy. They wanted that guy to give them that emotional spike. Now, a lot of times what happens with those girls is they end up, and this is just sex, this is what they want for sex, and this is what they want for the physical, they end up getting pregnant, and they end up being single moms. And what I saw as I passed through my 20s into my 30s was these kind of girls, or these girls who weren't so smart in the sense that they didn't seek a guy for his resources or whatever. These girls would end up getting knocked up for these bad boys, and they'd be pregnant, and they'd be single moms in their 30s, and they'd be looking around for the guy who could provide security. So they'd be on the dating sites talking about, you know, oh, I need a real man, I got kids, you know, no time for hookup kind of thing. Because why are they saying that? Because they've been hooking up for the last 10 years. So they're done with that. So now they got to make that clear, right? Oh, I'm a single mom now. I don't got time for games. No games, right? They're done riding the cock carousel, and they're ready to settle down. Now, a good question that I ask myself is, why would I want to be with a woman like that? You know, I have some self-esteem, but why would I, you know what I mean? Like, why would I want to be with a woman who's like, okay, I don't got time for romance, I don't got time for this, I don't got time for that. And it's like, you got an agenda. And a lot of these women out here have agendas. Now, this isn't even to throw in the whole monkey wrench, the whole you know, fun aspect of gynocentrism, right? Because that just fuels everything. That just tells women they can do whatever they want, and then of course feminism solidifies it, right? Those are the 1-2 punches that really just keep women from actually developing character, keep women from actually you know, having any checks and balances in life, right? Well, I can do whatever I want because feminism tells me I'm empowered. Feminism tells me I'm special no matter what. You know, and gynocentrism, which is, you know, the specializing of women, making women a special class in society, further backs that up. Yeah, I can do whatever I want. I'm a woman and everybody still loves me, and this is why they don't develop any character. They don't have loyalty.